Now coming in at number 6, we have Snow. Man, when I was making this one, I kind of, like, even now as I'm talking about it, it feels debatable because Snow has fallen off so much. Like I said, I was expecting for Global to get the reincarnation banner for like the older collabs of the Final Fantasy franchise. That just is yet to come. He feels a little bit outdated. I feel like he's, like Lightning, and I'm pretty sure that Hope is just garbage because he feels kind of worse than Mont. Looking at his support, we're definitely going with Hero's Fate, Native Hate, Defense, HP, very straightforward. He has Sakuchi, has Shadowrunner, same reasons. Warrior Spirit is something you can definitely go into. Revenger's probably the best counter that he has, getting that damage increase as his HP decreases, and it's a chance to counter all damage, so that's not necessarily all that bad. Now, Snow in general is also like an immensely selfish character. This guy does not like to buff anybody else outside of himself, like, in all honesty. Triple Guard is pretty good though. The defense debuff, the spirit is also nice. It's something that I feel like is pretty potent, but I know without a shadow of a doubt, you're using Reprieve. You want that courage. He gets 2 casts of this as well. And with him like outright like being built the way that he is, this is like the comfortability that I feel like I have with putting him above Mont in Warrior of Light, because he's just missing that dream ability, that dream enhancement. Once he gets that, I'm sure it's going to be something that definitely pushes him over the edge. Something else to keep in mind is that he does have, means of dispelling haste, physical damage increase, and magical damage increase. This is also a guaranteed hit. You can get rid of hate, things like that that I feel are just really annoying sometimes. And something else I feel like is also like a must-have is Close Call. This is going to increase his strike damage, AoE resist, which is always like pretty important. Going to give him like that HP recovery off the 20%. Pairs very well with Reprieve. And depending on the map, if he doesn't have like the means to go into Triple Guard, you probably turn that off because you need Reprieve and Close Call like hands down. These are things also that I feel like Close Call is like pretty good just because you don't need to cast this on an ally. Outside of that, I feel like Launch is something to definitely pay attention to. Decreasing single target resistance depending on like the team you're trying to go up against. This could be something that's viable. Has double strike, which is like not that bad. When it comes to Pugilist, breathing technique is something that I feel like is always just really good. Like Saintly Healing allows you to just kind of like get that heal if there's like nothing else going on. Demon Purger, also a must-have if you're using this just for that damage absorption. Something you definitely want to keep on him. Gonna increase the damage every time you receive damage. So yeah, definitely want to keep that in mind. And unlike everybody else on here, like he has a ninja but did not get Dream Within a Dream, so that kind of sucks for him. But like I said, as a whole, I really want to see this guy post reincarnation. I still feel like he's a threat. Having the multiple casts of courage is really going to just depend on what they give to him and, the route they want to take him, what skill they upgrade. Like, I'm sure it's probably on the JP side, but I haven't looked at it, so I really don't know. And I don't mind being like surprised ever so often. And coming at number 5, we have Joom, a character that has eluded me for a good time now. Definitely still want her regardless, how good she was or is at this point. The Native Hate, once again, is something that is just, really good to have. HP increase, attack increase is always kind of nice, I guess. Slash Pin, not really all that big of a deal, going off of her Protecting Shell. I'm kind of iffy with, like I said, things like this because, like I said, it's not like the hardest thing to get rid of these things, and then it just kind of makes like a part of her mastery ability just like useless at that point. So just be cautious of who you go up against. But her Dream like enhancement, single target resistance, and then elemental chain resistance, oh man, that's extremely good. Sometimes, like I said, even over a heal, because healing power down is always a thing. These are kind of more niche to get rid of. They're not as easily, you can just see from the characters that we went through alone, it's not the easiest thing to like just target outright. You're more so getting defense pin. You're getting things like spirit pin, slash resistance, penetration, like stuff like that. Like these are not as common. So like I said, the more you have of it, the better off you're going to be. As far as her supports go, like I said, you're looking at Windhaven. This is going to increase her defense, increasing her slash and her pierce resistance. Probably a must-have as well. You don't have to be afraid of Nightblade Mastery. Like I said, evasion is not really going to be that big of a deal. Swift Wind Condition is also, like I said, depending on the situation, what map you're on, you're definitely going to use it over Jump, that's for damn sure. But nonetheless, it just really depends on the map. Agility increase is always going to be nice. And then Dragon Lore is also, that's something that can be really good depending on how you're trying to use her. She gets that healing power up. The HP increase is always going to be good. Same thing with her counter. Like I said, Dragon's Blade is something I can recommend to tanks, but I do feel like Aura of Wind is probably better. Outright, just, you know, giving you a good physical damage decrease, as well as, you know, a chance to counter, which is always kind of nice. And she is one of those characters that have the skills that are definitely like, that's, like I said, her winning edge is honestly just her kit. Like the decrease in single target resistance with Aaron Sizer, really good. The damage, you know, potency is not like the best on it or whatever, but it's more of like a utility skill. It's something that you just kind of want her to use to just make somebody not as tanky, pretty much. Vacuum Veil is a must-have. This is going to be her hate. It's going to give her protecting shell, and, you know, seeing what her second mastery ability offered, it's going to be like, you know, her means of pretty much like having access to that attack increase. Wind Blessing is also something you may want to prioritize, giving you that, you know, physical damage reduction, increasing her defense pin. Storm Siphon is something else I can definitely say, like, leave that on for sure. Damage absorption off of the damage dealt, something that pairs well with Dragoon Lore. And reducing counter chance, so things like reflex or, you know, whatever kind of counter that is just, you know, annoying to deal with. These preemptive attacks definitely can be something that can, you know, she can just help shut down. And this skill, I've always hated saying Storm Wind Rend, because it's, oh my gosh, it's like a tongue twister if you don't like enunciate every fucking little syllable. Reduces counter chance, which is definitely kind of showing you like a theme with her. Guaranteed hit, also decreasing agility. This can be something that is pretty potent for sure. And then finally, Dance of the Whirlwind. Like, outright, I would have to say, even like going over this now, I can see why I ranked her this high. Her utility skills are just so, they're really good. The only thing that I feel like she doesn't do is lower AoE. But yeah, the single target resistance, increasing that, and then also being able to lower it up for other people, it's just... As far as her sub main job goes, what's this, Innervating Edge is something that you can definitely use. Attack and magic decreases for a tank, I think, is, you know, something that can just like kind of be somewhat good. It's at a decent AoE, so by the time maybe like your team is moving up after they buffed each other, depending on what your scheme is, you can like put them in a situation where if they are taking AoE damage, it's not going to be as devastating, because a 39% cut can be pretty good. Like I said, it just really depends on who this all hits, and this, you know, definitely, hopefully not just one person, because that would probably be like worst case scenario, and definitely a waste of AP. But like I said, man, in general, Joom is just a really interesting character. Like I said, her increases are just really good. If I can make any recommendation for her, I would have to say try to get the AoE resistance from somewhere. You know, definitely buff her single target resistance, because I feel like it's probably like something that is already catered to with her just main kit. So the more you can just kind of bump that up, the better off she's going to be. Now for number 4, we're looking at Alphonse. This guy, I feel like, is kind of like a tank killer. Like, we're going to look at his kit for sure, but like, you know, he obviously needs that secondary mastery ability that I'm sure we'll get, you know, down the line. But like I said, once again, you've seen the single target resistance, just really good to have. Also increasing his physical damage. It's also just like not that bad. Defense is also pretty good. HP, you know, just like typical stuff, but mainly the defense I think is pretty good. And with him, like I said, you know, you're definitely going for Lightning Rod. Every single time you see these skills, they need these. Like, hands down, they need these skills. Shadow Runner, pretty good. Electric Charge is not, like, you know, the worst thing. Divine Protection may be something that you might want to consider depending on the map, or just like in general. Sakuchi for previous reasons. And Night Lord could not be bad. Like, maybe, but he's mainly like a strike unit, so I can't really highly like recommend that you would even go for this. As far as his counters go, Brace, like I said, is definitely like the best one. Countered all damage, reduce all damage. Sword Guard is something that you could go for, but I mean, they're exactly the fucking same. So now, even though Joom can have a title of a tank killer, I just think this guy does it better. Focus Fist, being able to decrease crit evasion, like I said, for previous mentioned reasons, this is going to help just your teammates crit. Expertise of the Alchemist, increasing your slash resist, your AoE, which is always really good. Elemental chain resist, which is always really good. This is also giving him like an opportunity to dispel protect. Izumi's stance, like I said, giving you that physical barrier, increasing your defense pin. just giving him just more defenses to have to slap off. Stalagmite Transmutation is also something that's pretty powerful, defense and spirit increase. Also does have a barrier break, a decrease of attack, a decrease in agility. This is something that is like just further showing you that he's really good at just getting through defenses and you know, being immensely potent at it. Also reduces the counter chance, I forgot because it's upgraded. And the potency is not like all that bad either, so that's something else that you kind of want to keep in mind for sure. He also has a guaranteed hit when it comes to Armored Flash Kick, dispelling all the debuffs off of himself, restoring his HP a 25% clip. That's not that bad, so he can kind of sustain himself when it comes down to it. And the fact that it's tied to a skill is something that's pretty good. You know, I kind of wish it was the solo effect, but I mean, nonetheless, the fact that he can just do this for himself is something that I feel like you definitely can't scoff at. He does have double blow, so that's something else to kind of pay attention off of his sub main job. And I do feel like Stun Grenade is something else that you can kind of look at. You know, a chance to inflict blind or stun, like on targets, is not necessarily the worst thing. You know, it's like a 25% chance for each one, but the fact that it's like 2 different status effects or status elements on like one skill, if that were to land, or if both of them were to land, that would really kind of suck. Subjob Ninja does have Dream Within a Dream, and as far as the Subjob Knight, does have the Arm Break. And outside of that, I definitely do have to mention Stone Enclosure, because I feel like Slow does not get as much love as I feel like it should. Like, you have to understand, if you can inflict slow, especially like earlier on in like the match, it can be devastating. It can honestly sometimes just outright take your team out of the fight if you're, especially like you're running like a fast build, or maybe like a team that can like, you know, utilize haste. So outright, like I said, this guy is just really good. Something else to mention about him definitely is his TMR. I feel like that damage absorption, the raise of attack, is something that's pretty powerful. This is also for your allies, so giving everybody like a damage absorption technique. And coming at number 3, we have the Aldo. This guy is really annoying, honestly, really good at just outright being a physical tank. I feel like he is somebody that needs a little bit of ramp up time, but as long as he can get like certain skills off, he's just going to do well regardless. You know, things to look at definitely are the HP. Needs that secondary mastery ability, but nonetheless, just still so effective. Also having the AoE resist is something that I feel like works in his favor. Magic damage increase, always pretty good. But outright, like I said, things that we're looking at are definitely the Beacon of True Silence. This is going to give him single target resistance, increase his hate, give him defense. Just a really powerful support that you're crazy if you're not using that. You can use Red Mage Lore. I feel like that could be, you know, somewhat useful in cases of where you're trying to, you know, take down Bridal Alea without really like having like the craziest of difficulty. You know, you definitely go with Lightning, Spirit's Blessing. Born of the Void, I feel like, is something else you can possibly use outside of like the magic level up. That could be pretty good, but just being able to increase the move sometimes can really make a difference. Could help you blitz a different team, or just outright get away from like units maybe that you don't want to like get AoE to death. Counter wise, I feel like you're probably better off going with Still Ephemeral, just because I mean, it's a really good skill outright. You know, pretty similar to Sword Guard. And in general, I don't really have the character, so I don't know if like he outright just gets this HP increase, or maybe like it's like an after effect kind of thing. I don't know, but like I said, from the outside looking in, I'd probably go with that. As far as his main job goes, things like Avocation of Stillness I feel like is a must-have, increasing his hate, increasing the elemental chain resistance for previously mentioned reasons. Force of Despair is something else that I would probably, like I said, once again, always keep on, increasing his defense, debuff effective weakening. I don't know what the hell that necessarily does, but okay. Gives him Shell as well, gain a new counter, the Wall of Despair, which is definitely probably like the more important skill that you need to make sure that he's using. Also keep in mind he does have damage absorption, means of increasing his healing power, which is really important when it comes down to it. Those things definitely go hand in hand. You can get like increases off of Trust Stones, like I said, so be sure that you're doing that. Return to Nothingness, like I said, debuff, get rid of haste, the magic and physical damage increases, just helps your team stay alive, in all honesty, must have. Lowering counter chance can be pretty good, but the main one we're looking at is the decrease in AP. This can be something like, especially like you're running up against people who don't have bells on, that can just be so like neck breaking when it comes down to it, especially if he's like in a situation where he can just like outright use this multiple times. Something else to definitely keep in mind off the sub main job, enfeebling Magic Spear. That's just a further decrease in attack and magic. Just really potent at this point. Like I said, you can already lower the increases, so now starting to cut into like their base stats, it's just something, like I said, that's just further showing that he's good at like just being a tank and possibly just like outright keeping his teammates alive. And then also have to say something about like the Spark and Stone. I don't know, just because he has so much he would want to go into if you would have time. It really depends on the map, but it is a good increase for like the lightning resist, the earth resist for like mirror matches and stuff. Once again, just really going to depend on the map, depend on who you're going up against, and if you have the time to still go into all the stuff that I feel like you would want to prioritize over this skill. Outside of that, like I said, have to mention Unavailable Pain. Definitely for Kododama Wielder, really good skill. Nimble Movement, something else that can, you know, situationally be good. It's just same situation. Like, it's going to depend on the map if you want to use that, if he has the space to go into everything else. Something else to definitely keep in mind off of Red Mage, he has the Resistance Break. This is going to get rid of Re-Raise, and Lower Spirit, making his attacks more potent, or, you know, whoever he may be running with. But the Wall of Despair, if you can get this off and get it going, this is going to be a chance to, you know, counter the physical damage, reduce physical damage taken by a good amount. Just a really good skill that I feel like pairs really well with Still Ephemeral, and a reason why I was kind of recommending that, because if he can stack both of those and they both go off, that's a 60% decrease. Like, that is nerfing the living hell out of like whoever's attacking him with physical damage. And that's like not even mentioning like all the other status elements or just debuffs that he can inflict, the attack and magic debuffs, and all the upgrades that they may have done beforehand, you know, getting pretty much slapped off of them. Just a really good synergistic kind of like combo there. And then you have to talk about his Limit Break as well. This is going to give him regen, raise his single target attack resistance, and in all honesty, when it comes down to it, like now that I'm like really looking at him, I had an opportunity of playing against him a lot today. I feel like the top three can almost like be juggled around, just really depending on who you have to put around them. And realistically, all three of them are like extremely good units. So like I said, I wouldn't be mad at anybody if they wanted to swap these three around, or maybe they were comfortable with how I placed them. But like I said, once again, I'm just going pretty much off of my experience. At the end of the day, it is like opinion based. So moving on to number 2, I had to put Raph here. I feel like Raph is like somebody that I really wish I, you know, could have got my hands on. You know, I feel like her mastery ability is really good. Getting the native hate, getting AoE resistance just outright, also getting single target resistance and crit evasion. These are really important things. Like I said, crit evasion is probably like that 4th stat, like off of you know, the elemental AoE single target like trio. It's like that 4th one that's like, it's not exactly like the most common thing to get rid of, but I mean, you know, it can still be debuffed. But at the end of the day, pretty good. I mean, like I said, you know, any kind of means of just, you know, not taking as much damage, I feel like is definitely a win when it comes to being a tank. Outright, like I said, you know, we're definitely looking at our rule, the Eternal Knight, defense, HP, this is her hate, scholarly intuition for the defense and accuracy is always really good. Dark Witch of the Abyss is also pretty good. Jump, agility, like I said, you know, previous mentioned things. If you need the activation time, you can take this route. But like I said, I would more so rely on just like making sure that she gets all of her buffs off. And scholarly intuition, I feel, may be more in line of what you would want. You want her to be accurate. You definitely want the defense, because I'm not 100% sure if she's going to need that decrease in activation time. So maybe situational, really depends on, I guess, like how you're using her. Outside of that, like I said, we're talking about physical tanks. I would have to go with Twilight Shield. I feel like that's just probably like the more universal one. And Raph is somebody else, like I said, I feel like you just want, like, honestly, like specific stuff to be targeted. Double Destruction is an absolute must. It's going to lower so many different things outside of just like, you know, for her not to be a defense, you know, or like a physical damage dealer. Just being able to lower defense and making, like, you know, whoever susceptible to being attacked from like other characters or allies on your team, that's pretty important. I would have to say that's something that I thought was really interesting about her, and I don't really think like many characters really do that. And also the fact that it's an AoE, I would have to say, man, the only way this could have been better is if it lowered like agility or CT or something like that. Another skill I would look at is Release from Life. This is going to get rid of courage. It's going to also dispel shell. so definitely something just to make people more susceptible to damage. Undying Wall is also a must-have. This is something that's going to stack really well with whatever counter that you're using. The light and darkness resist are kind of niche, really depends. Also giving her re-raise, so this is something else that you definitely want to have. As long as the re-raise is up, this is going to give her more AoE resist. Just keep in mind of who you're putting her up against, because if that gets slapped off, the AoE resist is now gone. Also really important is the Darken Peril. This is also a guaranteed hit. The only way this could have been better is it being like an AoE or something like that, but regardless, really powerful, makes people more susceptible to damage, you know, if you're running that mono team pretty much. But yeah, having a guaranteed hit on your main job is always really good. Now, as I previously mentioned, the activation time I think would really be useful when it comes down to using Scholar, like, you know, Law of Preservation, something that you can definitely go into to just, you know, get some more tankiness. Speed reading, maybe not as much, it really kind of depends. But having things like Law of Geo-Absorption, you know, a different means of dealing damage outside of like raw magic is also going to be pretty important. Outside of that, she does have Taunting Spell with Spellblade, so that's something I guess you can kind of like, you know, kind of mention that. Also, you know, having the HP recovery after her HP drops to a certain level is also pretty good, you know, as far as like just staying alive. Something else that's definitely worth mentioning is her limit break, being able to extend the elemental chain. This is where that elemental chain resist kind of like, you know, comes in clutch. And just overall, like I said, she's a really powerful character. Like, honestly, I feel like Courage is probably one of those things like I'm more annoyed with than re-raise. I don't know why I feel like saying that, but yeah, I definitely feel like Courage is like more annoying. Maybe because like the more like annoying characters have Courage. Like when I just like think about Bradley, Summer Glassy, Flagbearer Glaciella getting Courage as well off of like her limit break or something like that. I don't know, I'd have to look at that. Now coming in at number 1, we do have my girl Summer Glassy here, and I'm gonna admit I'm a little bit biased. She's probably like one of my favorite characters to use right now, especially being a water main. Has the single target resist, I think is pretty important. You know, we said that multiple times. She's also getting native hate, increased healing power when it comes to her dream ability. And like, you know, like I said, for her not to have her secondary mastery ability, she is pretty good. Definitely pretty good. Things to definitely, you know, keep in mind is the Chick Summer Shade. This is going to give her AoE resist. This is also going to give her some more hate, increase her debuff effect weakening. If you need to, you can use the extra jump. You know, I hate that it wasn't something else because it definitely could have been, but I mean, at least it's giving her like that option. You might want to use this, but I really don't know about that. Summer Goddess's Blessing is something that's also pretty good. The HP and the defense, you know, pretty straightforward. Thief's Lore is something else you can contemplate using for the move and the agility. You know, really works well because she only has like realistically like 2 buffs that I like personally use. And then after that, I would want her to just like pretty much be blitzing whoever. You know, I feel like she's one of those characters that are really good at just like breaking up people's setup, kind of like the Aldo. Just having that extra move gives you that option to pretty much do so. You just don't want them to be moving too far ahead. You know, you probably want to have units that can kind of move with her, or maybe they're just like outright faster than her and they're running to her to buff her or something like that. Has Dragoon Lore as well, giving her HP increase as well as healing power up. She has a card that also like pairs very well with this kind of a build. So I could definitely see you using Blood Sword and it being like immensely effective when using her. And then that's also not mentioning her sword outright, which is just really powerful. It's a really good sword that pairs extremely well with her and other characters, like, which is something I was really grateful about. Like, I hate when they add weapons to the game and they have like those like little bonus effects and they only affect like one character. So, you know, having weapons that have that universal effect where it's like, you know, job based or something like that is just way more acceptable, and just like I really love those effects. Now you can definitely go with Dragon's Blade, definitely nothing, you know, wrong with that, but I feel like this is just better because you know, like slash and magic damage are just like universal, and you know, she can reduce damage taken outright from everything. And in all honesty, like her whole main kit is just extremely good. I feel like the only character, like aside from like, you know, just Bridal Alea in general, that was on this list that has like a really like, you know, obviously like a really like glaring advantage over her is going to be Alphonse, but like you don't want to fight those teams anyway when it comes down to it. Sunscreen, really important, giving her that elemental chain resist, also giving her protect. So, you know, like I said, depending on who you're going up against, that can be really potent. Slight Delight, something else that's really good. Manipulating CT is always something, like I said, that can just help your teammates, you know, have like a agility advantage or just a turn advantage in general. Unfalling Maiden is also like a must-have, like outright. She will go to this before she uses sunscreen. This is going to be her courage, and if she's around somebody, this is also going to reduce physical damage taken as well as her accuracy, giving her also a heal back that doesn't rely on like, you know, being around an ally or anything. So this is just something that's just always going to be casted. And the fact that it doesn't like rely on the courage being there, I think is probably the bigger deal. So if you're in like a limited situation where like courage is nullified or something, she can still cast this and get like all of this. So that's definitely not a bad situation. Ebb and Flow barrier, you know, something else that's just really good. I like the barrier break. I just don't like the physical damage reduction for like 1 turn. I wish it was like at least 2 turns. I feel like that would have been like better. But just overall, I feel like you just leave this on. I mean, like I said, even if it's just for 1 turn, it's still pretty potent and can kind of help her stay alive. Woven Claws, also a must-have. Increases her defense pin, dispels re-raise as well. It's also going to have like that same effect where it's like it just increases like her defense for 1 turn. I don't know why they did this to her, because maybe it would have, I don't know, maybe it would have made her like too broken or something. Like they didn't want this to like have a chance to stack or something. And Sure Thing, also something you leave on. Her guaranteed hit, possibility of inflicting stop. Like I said, if you're going up against units with high faith, this has a decent chance of landing. I've also seen this like land on like evasive characters, and outside of Woven Claws, I'd have to say like it's probably her best skill, just because like the chance of inflicting stop. As far as her sub main job goes, I feel like Tonic Water, you also kind of leave that on. Saintly healing effect, pretty much. Chance to heal yourself. Like she won't prioritize this over anything unless her HP is like that low, and maybe like her courage, you know, effect already kind of like went off. And with her being like a AP starved character, I mean, it's something to, you know, go into. Like it's better than nothing for sure. And Graviton Strike is good. The agility decrease is always nice, but you have to be really cautious of what kind of map you're on, because it has a good amount of range, and it might affect her overall like setup. But nonetheless, like I said, a really good skill, high potency. Just being a character that is so AP starved, and this being like a high AP cost technique, you have to be really careful with that, because you need her to go into her courage outright, like period. But aside from that, like I said, you know, definitely want to mention her limit break, raising the AoE resist. The attack is, you know, decent, but mainly the AoE. But overall, like I said, you know, her placement is a biased thing. I feel like she is the best, like, in all honesty. I really like her overall main kit. There's not a skill in there that I feel like you need to turn off. Just really needs that second mastery ability. The only other recommendation that I can really make for her is like maybe you want to dumb down her movement and more so go for like maybe like a TMR buff, just to have like a third skill that she can kind of go into. Because like I said, the AP thing can definitely be a problem. Have to reroll all these characters regardless, but I do feel like she's one of those characters that could really utilize it in the big 3. The Aldo and Raph, you know, being more so magic damage dealers, like they're not going to be as AP hurt. So as long as it's like a, you know, a bigger map, I can see her going into Bells. I can see her going into like maybe something else to just like keep her in the fight and keep her effective. But it's definitely crazy to like honestly see like how much the meta has changed this year. You know, we can look at the tanks, we can look at our supports, our DPSs, bruisers. Like there's been a lot of changes, you know, but we've gotten a lot of 100 cost units this year, so I guess that was to be expected. And we still have another month and a half to like go through. Final Fantasy IX is on its way, you know, during the time of this video, and that's not to mention like the possibility of like getting like a random, you know, collab that has nothing to do with Final Fantasy, which I think I'm kind of looking forward to, but I'm also kind of scared of because I'm not ready for it. But with that, that'll pretty much do it for the video. You know, let me know like how you guys would have ranked it, if you agree, disagree, all that other stuff. I'll try my best to try and reply to everybody. Definitely be sure to like the video. Have to say that again. And with that, I hope to catch you in the next one. Take it easy.